Hi, good morning. Welcome to the channel. This is an unplanned reading. I was not actually going to do one of my layouts for the first quarter moon financial. I've been doing that every month, and I wasn't going to do one this month. In fact, I already made my blog post over on my website with a different theme for the month for the financial, which is more about community defense and finding your wealth in protecting one another as a community and doing community organizing type stuff, which is me. I'm someone who values that. And I have made a zine. You might have heard me mention on this channel a little while ago recently that I've made the hard copies of and was starting to kind of give those out. And then I finally got it transferred to a digital version so that I can share a digital version with people as well. That was going to be the financial work that I did for the first quarter moon this time. A different type of wealth, right? The wealth of community and connection. But then everything went haywire in terms of the global market with the tariffs, the new tariffs under the Trump administration. And this morning, as I was kind of thinking about that, for whatever reason, that feels very distant to me. Personally, I'm not saying it's not major and significant. It is. People are going to be impacted, like, oh my God, I feel like I can't catch my breath. So there might be people that are really panicked about this and fearful. Understandably, if you have a lot of loss that you've just taken to your retirement, for example, maybe that's where this fear is coming from. So I decided to go ahead and do a layout, even though I had already decided not to, just because this is a unique time and it happened right in tandem with the first quarter moon. And since I've set this intention that I'm going to do these types of layouts, I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do it now. I'm also in this particular description box going to create a link. Ooh, I feel that again, so I'm kind of glad I'm doing it. Like, I feel really out of breath. Somebody's feeling really like pressure on their chest. You might be having you might be sick, and it's impacting your lungs. I don't know. It's heavy though. I really feel like a heavy pressure on my chest as I'm speaking. Let me just do this here real quick because I'd like for that to ease up a little bit. So I'm going to post a link to my blog on my website, which is my personal services website, and then also a link to the digital zine, because I'm proud of it. It's the third zine I've ever made, but it's the first one that I've created a digital version. And then I'm also going to go live tonight, for what it's worth, completely unrelated to the first quarter moon financial work. It's more about the spirit world. I've been doing a lot of scrying, and in my cauldron gaze that I did yesterday, which has been uploaded to the page under the Obsidian Mirror podcast and also the Timeless Card Readings playlist, I was channeling a lot of information again about Bhota, Bhoota, spirits, and spiritual spouses, or spiritual twins. And I just want to acknowledge that that's not necessarily a world that I'm from or that I came from, but it's one that's been coming into my life personally over the last 5 years. And yesterday, the cauldron work especially really came through, and I realized that one of the images I was seeing was not a primate, but it looked that way to me because I don't have a frame of reference. But I saw a Bhota spirit that looked just like a Balinese Bhota conceptualization, and I'll post probably an image of that in the comments, because I feel like I received a channeled message for someone about a loved one that may have had trouble crossing over and is now kind of embodying a Bhota spirit. And the image was just dead on for this Balinese Bhota with these pearl teeth, and it was not malevolent. I just want to really say that. It was not a malevolent spirit, but it seemed uneasy, and that's a characteristic of Bhota in some conceptualizations in Southeast Asia, that they're a restless spirit that it needs help crossing over. And so anyways, I don't want to go on and on because that's not what this layout is for, but that's going to be on my live reading tonight. So tune into that if that is of interest, or if that feels like it's resonating. Not just the Bhota, but the spiritual spouse type or spiritual twin messaging might have relevance for you. And it wasn't just Bali, it was also Myanmar. And so somewhere in Southeast Asia, I might have a viewer that needs this message, and I just want to make sure that I get it out there while also respecting and acknowledging that it's not my lineage, but it came through in my cauldron scrying. And I'm someone who's been drawn to working in death and dying for most of my adult life. So that might be partially why, because I have a lot of regard and reverence for the dead and for the transition process as a hospice social worker and a spiritual person, right? So that might be why, that I'm just the easiest way for the easiest conduit for the spirit to get this message through. I don't know, right? So I just want to honor that. But now let me just get into this financial layout, because there's a lot of anxiety out there right now about the financial markets and people's possibly, like I said, investments or retirement funds. And are we going to go into a major recession or a depression? There's just a lot of fear. So let's see what comes out here for this financial. That's my cat in the background playing with his treat ball. This isn't the financial deck I usually use, but it's created by the same guy that created the Knockwood deck. I think Knockwood is his last name. So I'm going to use this one instead, just because I felt more drawn to it. It's kind of financial adjacent, which is good for me because that's what I wanted. That's how I was seeing the work this month. The concept of abundance in general, it doesn't just have to be through money, right? Very interesting. Paracletus, Makriotes, I don't know how you pronounce that, and then ellipsis. So let's see what these messages are for us for the financial market here. Oops, where's the other one here? Let me just find the other key card. Oh, there isn't one. Interesting. Okay, well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens here. Yeah, okay, I need his other, I need the other key here. Bear with me because I'm new to this deck totally. And so this is a process when I read from these decks. So bringing clarity, showing the way forward, and being an investigator. That's the first kind of message coming through. So bringing clarity. Hopefully this layout will bring some clarity. But what I'm kind of more understanding it is that there will be clarity as time passes and we start to see how this is shaking out on the individual and personal level for the general public, right? Paracletus, which is a square and circle. Guru, let wisdom prevail, right? So we need wisdom, we need clarity. We need protection. And we need to be pioneering spirits. So wisdom, clarity, courage, and protection. That strikes me as very relevant, right? Wisdom, clarity, purity, and protection. We need that kind of energy around us to manage these financial times, apparently, because we need to not panic. We need to be able to kind of maintain a connection to our wisdom and we need to also have courage. There may be opportunity in this, for example, that we're not aware of yet, but if we kind of maintain a watchful eye, we might be able to witness the opportunity on a personal level for ourselves. For me, the financial decision making around this month was, this is an opportunity to showcase, at least in my own work, a different type of wealth, which is community wealth, and which is also barter, right? Bartering, for example. My friend and I were just talking about wanting to incorporate more bartering into our work and less cash fee for service, but trade. So trade is important on a personal level, and it can be. So like if you offer tax service, and as a CPA, you might go trade with a massage therapist. I'll do your taxes for 6 massages, right? That kind of thing. And we can do a lot of stuff like that if we think creatively and have an innovative spirit in a time like this. So that may be important, right? What else is important to know about the current financial circumstance? And incidentally, the moon for the first quarter moon was in Leo, which is a creative, courageous spirit, right? So we need that. Interesting. So now zodiac energy is Mars as well as Libra. So that's a little bit of a contradiction, but to embody both those qualities at once is needed, right? That's what I'm picking up on. Courage, Mars. Let's see here. Where's Mars? I want to read the description that's provided here. Helmeted, pike in hand, and shield by his side, with his firm chin covered with a red beard, the chief's wand concealed, scarcely rested from his hard fighting, Mars, the god of war and of passion, is about to give himself up to the indulgence of love and voluptuousness. Again, that kind of strikes me as like connecting to community with love and with a little bit of a sense of luxury, even if it's just through something like touch, like massage, right? His activity and vitality will often lead him to guilty associations with Venus. God, that's been coming through a lot too. Mars and Venus, Aries and Aphrodite. That's been a theme in like my last 3 readings. So you might want to check those out. They might have relevance for you. This card represents the man, the lever. It denotes anger, frankness, passion, and strength. It brings success through industry and activity, and also through personal merit. So that's really good and affirming, it's just further affirmation of this layout here with these financial cards. And then Libra. The scales are tending towards equilibrium. That's reassuring. They are held by a firm hand, the hand of justice, of sincerity, of truth and right. Libra is full-blooded, gentle, moist, masculine, diurnal, cardinal, and of the airy element. It is above everything the card of justice and of equilibrium. It gives fidelity, sincerity, and tends to equality in all things. It represents kindness combined with justice. It is favorable for the imagination and for artistic taste, imparting intellectuality to all things which it approaches. It governs especially the kidneys, bladder, and hips. So this strikes me as really, really in keeping. I'm not saying this to endorse this administration. I really want to be clear about that, because I don't. I'm not somebody that supports this administration. But what it's showing me is that if we can maintain sort of an equilibrium and a wise place, as well as kind of embody that masculine, direct, active energy, we can get through a time like this. And it's an auspicious first quarter moon that it was in Leo, which gives us that strength and that courage for innovation and the vitality needed to carry out something in a balanced way here. We need to not be panicked. We need to not further crash the markets by panicking and doing like, oh my God, I'm just going to cash out my retirement, whatever it needs. It requires a little bit of discernment, right? Not just to be reactive to what's going on. And in fact, in the Great Depression, that was one of the lessons that came out of the Great Depression in the United States, was that everybody panicked, and through that sort of mass panic worsened the situation, right? So it's not to blame people, but it's just to understand something on a more grand scale, right? It's not just about the individual. It's also about looking at diversifying your options. So if we're talking about like, oh, I had all this money invested, like I'm not misinvested. Okay, I'm not invested in a lot. I'm invested in this land that I live on here. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of investment accounts. I'm not a big stock market person. Even crypto, I'm not a part of right now. I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I'm not currently connected to that world. So, but that said, they talk at length about diversifying your investments as a way to protect yourself. And one of the ways that keeps coming through here for me is investing in community, investing in your community relationships so you're not existing in isolation. So you are connecting with people like, hey, you don't have money to provide, to pay for my services. I'll make you another option, which is let's trade food. If you don't, I like hunted and ethically hunted and caught fish. So that's something I offer in barter for my own business. If you can provide me with some ethically hunted meat or fish, I'll give you some of my services, right? So it's stuff like that. And that's a diversification of your abundance. My nose is really running. I don't know if it's just allergies or what, but it wasn't doing this before I sat down. So maybe that has meaning for someone, who knows. What else to know about this financial situation here? Be willing to pivot. Like, I wasn't going to do this, and then this morning there was a whole other message coming through that said do this reading. So I'm willing to pivot, and I'm going to do the reading. It's not about my ego. It's not about how I think things should or shouldn't be. It's about being willing to adapt, right? Success. I mean, you can't make it up. This is the way to success at a time like this, is to surrender a little bit your ego, maintain a sense of balance and equilibrium in terms of not panicking, do what you have to do, whatever that is. Like, I felt that really heavy chest energy. Practice 4 square breathing, do something to manage your energy so that you're not just in a panicked reactive state at a time like this. That's what's going to guide you to success. Looking at alternative locations for your wealth, not just your stocks investments, but your investments with the people that you trust, right? That can have your back if you do, like, let's say you break down somewhere in your car and you can no longer afford your AAA. Hopefully you've done the time and the effort and the work to create relationships that you trust in your life, that someone can come pick you up and help you out, right? That's another type of wealth, like I said. And if you haven't done that, let this be a cue to you that you can start doing that now to help be and act as a protective measure for you. A lot of preppers get really into paranoid thinking where it's just about them and their household and guns and food storage just for them, that they have to protect at all costs. Well, what they're not cluing into is that, yeah, that stuff's important, but also you need to be making community relationships and not being paranoid so that you can survive as a group, for example, right? If you're a prepper. You need to be learning about plants and about edible things that grow all around us, not just about stocking up on guns and storing rice and flour, right? It's also about knowing what are the plants that grow around you that can sustain your body as well. Like, what about having chickens so that you have eggs, right? Just things like that, right? It's common sense, but it's stuff that people have lost connection to as we've gotten more and more monetarily based and dollar based and less community mutual aid based as a society. What else? I was going to pull one of these cards, I think. And I didn't want this reading to go on too long because I want to get prepared for my live reading later. The live readings are great. As the more I do those, they're going to be great opportunities to have your energy more what's the word I'm looking for? Like, if you want these types of things to feel even more personal to you as part of this collective, tuning into a live reading is a great time because your energy is right there in the moment with me doing the layout. So that's something to consider, right? And spiritual spouses and Buddha energy is not going to be the entirety of the layout tonight. I'm going to just do a collective reading as well. But that was a message that came through for someone, and I wanted to do some more research before I tried to bring that through. So that's what I'm going to be doing to some extent this afternoon. Any more information for this layout, for this kind of insane market energy that we're in, and like tariffs and paranoia and world markets, you know, it's a lot, especially for the layperson. If you're not someone that's super dialed into that, it's hard to kind of know what it's going to look like for you. But the supply chain certainly might be impacted again, right? Like it was during COVID, or still is, kind of, to some extent. Dinner in the upright, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then nature in the reverse from the birds. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre energy is like how, like, he was this violent criminal, but he was also being used by his family. So there might be something in that for somebody. You are what you eat, right? Like, what kind of energy do you want around you? Do you want bad actors around you, or do you want generous spirits around you that are going to help uplift you versus use you and exploit you like some aspects of the capitalist market can? Maybe you want to look closely at how the sausage is made. If you made a steady diet of the brain-stunningly awful aspects of life around us through the news, social interactions, interpersonal conflicts, you're sure to find that what you're feeding yourself is actually all-consuming. Don't let it eat you up. So don't be in the play-by-play about the market crash, right? You are what you eat. Focus on sustainable options. It's a perfect example of what we've just been saying. And then nature in the reverse. Problems of a feather may flock together, and while just one may seem manageable, it may descend upon us simultaneously if we can feel beset by an irresistible force of nature. When complications peck and scratch at us from all sides, it can be hard to know where to turn or what to do. But take comfort that as suddenly and mysteriously as a flurry of problems can arise, their departure can be equally abrupt. Nature will take its course regardless. So there's only going to be so much that we can each do regarding something like the global market, right? We're not major players in the global market. And if you are, this is a time to kind of get your ducks in the row, because you may be taking big losses right now. And in the meantime, how are you going to shore up your protection that's on a way different level than just dollar signs, right? Dollars and euros and yen and all that, right? Like, what other wealth do you have established around you? Who do you trust? Your neighbors, right? That stuff's really important in times of scarcity and fear like this. So I think that's that. I'll hopefully see you tonight for the live layout, and I'll take good care. I hope this is helpful in some way.